B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. We're back in the MESILAT YESHERIM. Almost finished chapter 19, Chassidut. Now, we were in the middle of discussing that you always have to give your best to God, not the garbage. And this is actually one of the first lessons of the Torah, in my opinion. It's very important. Actually, with my son, we're finishing all of Mishnayos Zeraim. One of the most precious mitzvot, interesting mitzvot is Bikurim. And we know that we have a wonderful kohen here. The pshat over there is, we Jews have to give our firstborn, which is the creme de la creme, firstborn animal, firstborn child, to the kohen. Which is, a kohen is the representative of God, which means don't give your garbage to God, and that's why God actually ultimately rejected the korban of Cain. But you have to give the best of your God. And it says in the Torah, actually we read it a few weeks ago, Kol mivchar nidrechem, when you give an offering to God, we read in last week's Parsha actually, it cannot not have any blemish. But the Torah also says that you also have to be, it has to be, when we offer something to God as an offering, a korban, it's a token of our appreciation. So, we have to give something that is class A, right? Super deluxe, Ali first class, right? Not something that is garbage. And like I said, it's one of the first things. Cain says that Hashem became very proud and accepted Hevel, the younger brother's korban, but to Cain, he didn't accept it. And, actually the last prophet we Jews had was Malachi. And the last part of Tanakh, he's also chastising the Jews, because the Jews at the end of the Second Temple were also, unfortunately, guilty of this crime, that they would, kind of save the most desirable stuff for their own tummy, and their flock. To Farsi we say lagar mordani. The cow and the goat that was about to have a heart attack and die was skin and bones they gave to Hashem, and the prophet is not happy. It's one of the very sobering haftarahs we read, that Hashem said, he doesn't like that. Now, it says kama dvarim hizarnu shelo. If you want your MESILATs here, if you want to look inside. So, anyways, next time I can give it to you inside.
Where is it?
Because I have a lot of copies of this MESILAT.
What page is it?
We're up to where it says Vakar kama dvarim hizarnu. Right there. It should be where the marker is.
The gold marker right
Yeah.
Okay.
It says the kama dvarim hizarnu shelo yeh mitzuyat bezuyat alanu. It's very important throughout Shas, the oral Torah. It says the mitzvah should not be something that is disgraceful to us. Like, for example, it says somebody that holds the Sefer Torah naked is going to be buried in a very disgraceful way. Which means the idea over here, why we need to give our best to God, is a sign of respect. Like we just said in the Ramchal on the Parsha. Any relationship with somebody that's greater than you, that doesn't have these two elements, is going to get ruined. We need to be tiferet, according to Kabbalah. A relationship is only beautiful when there's love and respect, right? If there's only love and no respect, it's not good, because it becomes upside down. And if there's only respect and no love, then you're not really one. You're not really, there's no intimacy there. There's no connection. But this whole idea is, like I said before, we bring our first fruits to God. I'm just learning the Mishnayos actually, because I have to give a siyum for my father. We're obviously recording the Nishmat. My father Shlomo Chaim ben David, his Yortzeit is coming up. So we know that the 7 fruits of Israel, the halacha is you have to put a small string after the first one. So you know which one was the first one, and then you have to bring it in golden bowls. So the rich people used to bring it in very extravagant and golden bowls and give it to the Kohen. Now, unfortunately, the poor people, the Mishnah says over there, they couldn't afford it. They could only bring straw baskets. But the idea over there is that the Arizal says a beautiful thing on the bracha of Asher, right? Actually, Persians, they like the name Asher. We have a lot of Ashers in our Persian Jewish community. Now, Asher, the Arizal, when Yaakov Avinu blessed Asher, it says, all the olive oil they used in the Holy Temple came from the land of Asher. He had a wonderful, bountiful source of olive oil, olive trees. And, one of the most valuable things, especially in ancient times, was olive oil, right? Because that was the main oil that they used to cook and, bake everything. Now it says, Asher Shemona Lachmo, it says, Asher would dip his, like you find in the fancy restaurants, right? The olive oil, he would dip his bread. Vehu yiten ma'adane melech, and he would give delicacies to the king. So the Arizal explains his pasha like this. He says, right, Asher, when it came to his personal meal and cuisine, he would only have, it was very basic, only, bread and the olive oil. The hu yiten ma'adane melech. But when it came to Hashem, he would give his spitz, his creme de la creme, his first class stuff, his delicacies to God. Which is unfortunately like, we were saying last week, and it's something that we need to repeat because it's very bad in our community. Some people, they spend $100,000 on the party, on their bar mitzvah. There's more bar than there is mitzvah. But when it comes to like getting the best tefillin, they want the $300 one, the cheapest one, right? We always have to the Gemara says that it's actually a mitzvah to bring it in the golden bowls. So it's a mitzvah to do the mitzvah, your father, which I'm very proud of, when you donate a Sefer Torah, right? You could donate one, like we Sephardim, we have a wonderful, wonderful custom that we should be very proud of. That our case of the Torah is a lot of times silver or gold, right? It's very extravagant. You could put the Torah in $100 wooden, but it's a sign of respect. You understand? When you give your best of God, it's showing you respecting God. And Rava Rami Puska Matzli Amar Hechen Nekrosa. So, like for example, one of the aspects of this, and by the way, anybody that tells you otherwise is fooling themselves. For example, Rava would wear a hat and jacket and a belt. That's why Hasidim wear a gartel, right? When we come and pray to Hashem 3 times a day, Shacharit, Minhan, Arbit, right? We're coming to talk to our Father in heaven, but our Father is not just regular Joe Schmo. He's the King of Kings, right? So that's why we wear a hat and jacket as a sign of respect. Vod Amru Razal. Al Bigdei Esav, like Esav, The Gemara, actually, the Talmud Yerushalmi, it's brought down in the Kiddushin, in the Bavli, it says that one time a rabbi said, he was boasting that he did the honor of his parents. He said, like, I'm a Superman in respecting my parents. They laughed at him. They said, you haven't even come to the degree of Esav, because Esav, every time he would come to talk to his dad, he would change his clothes. He would first change his clothes, wear royal clothes, like clean clothes, then come to his dad. He just wouldn't come from the field to his dad, So that's showing that you're respecting your father. And this is, by the way, I was learning Ale Shor with Jason, guys. Rav Volby says something so important for our generation. It's very, very scary. When my Rosh Hashiva, Rav Weinberg, which your father was very into, Rosh Hashiva Zatzal said something very, very, you have to be very careful. And that is when we live in a democracy and a Hellenistic society, inevitably, automatically, it has a thing on us. You understand? It has a effect on us that chas v'shalom, we also want to think that we can do whatever we want. The donya bi sahabe, we're autonomous. Oh, it's a democracy. Why do I need to listen to Hashem? And a lot of times we don't respect our parents because nobody in our society, listen, we live in a very dangerous society. One of the backbones of Torah is to be modest, seniut, for women and men even, not to be a show-off. We live in a society where everything is paparazzi and everybody's trying to put their Instagram and show off. So what I'm trying to say is also, this is something very important, that we live in a society where people are very shallow. And they go by Gucci, Versace, Ferragamo, all this, Gucci, Pucci, Mucci, whatever, all this stuff. But when it comes to spirituality, they want the cheapest, And this is wrong. Hashem has said, after 120 years, it's very scary because Hashem is going to bring a proof from ourselves. He says, you had enough money to go buy, indulge yourself in the most latest fashion. But when you came to do a mitzvah for me, you went about the cheapest lulav and etrog, right? What are you going to answer to Hashem? You can't answer you didn't have money because for years, you understand? So, Rabban Gamliel also says whenever he would go and serve his parents, he would be very clean. He says, I learned it from Esav. He says that Esav would wear his royal garments, right? Because, by the way, your parents, the Gemara clearly says the same way you have to respect God, you have to respect your parents. That's why in Chas v'Shalom, somebody that curses out his parents with Hashem's name is a capital crime, right? Just like cursing out Hashem. Or it's one of the 10 commandments. So, so he says, so guys, the issue is over here. If Esav, which was a Rasha, or Rabban Gamliel, which was obviously one of the princes of the Jewish nation, would wear royal clothes to go see his parents, which are only flesh and blood. So when we go daven to Hashem, this is another problem. It's laziness. People go with their flip-flops, right? Or with shorts. I even seen sometimes learned people do that. First of all, when you come to another major problem I see, one of the biggest problems in our communities, people don't respect the shul at all. My Rebbe was Hameduni, Harav Ben David. He was a student of the Chazon Ish. He said the attitude and the mood you need to be when you're sitting in a shul is that you're in a court. Of course, there has to be, again, of course, we just finished talking about how much we have to love Hashem, and that's the whole goal of Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, is to get us to the climax, to the top of the ladder. But in the end of the day, if there's no respect there, there's nothing. And that's the problem I have with one of the, great institutions in Klal Yisrael. But when we come to Daven Hashem, you're coming to the King of Kings. The whole vitamin, every Jewish holiday we have, it imbibes in us, in our spiritual conscience. It injects our spiritual DNA with a certain vitamin, right? So Sukkot, we said, it injects us that we have to serve Hashem with love and happiness. But Rosh Hashanah, it's the day we have to know that this Donya bi sahabnis, there's a boss in the world, right? There's a king, and we have to respect him. So we just do one more chapter and we wrap up the MESILAT. He says another thing that we have to respect a lot is Shabbat and Yom Tov. That's why it's very important that Shabbat should come with a suit, right? And for sure, you're going to be in a much, much better mood and respective mood to Shabbat if you're wearing your beach clothes and you come to shul on Shabbat. It's not right. It's a lack of respect. And it says you should know, the more you respect Shabbat and the holidays, the more you give God pleasure. Guys, we're created for one reason and one reason only. La'asot nachat ruach liyotzrenu v'la'asot retzon borenu. Right? Every time we do a mitzvah, we say in the L'Shem Yichud. To give nachat ruach. We have a Father in heaven, which is so merciful and so wonderful. We want to give him nachat ruach. Right? We want to make God proud of us. We want to give God... our Father in heaven should smile down upon us when he sees our actions and our character, right? And we want to do his will. Anything that makes Shabbat more meaningful and respectful, we have to do, the Ramchal says. That's why the greatest rabbis would personally like cut the salad or make the fish, right? Because they wanted to show that Rav Kahana, Rav Huna would like would prepare the Shabbat candles so his wife could light. Rav Papa would make the fetile, because it's a mitzvah to use light with olive oil, so he would make the wick. And Rav Chisda would make beet salad, right? Rav Yosef Matzlichu Sivi, they would make like the because how would they heat their houses with they would chop the wood. And Rav Nachman would do his own preparation. He said, and they asked him, Rav Nachman, why are you going and cutting all this wood, doing all this hard labor? He said, listen, if my two Rebbeim, Rav Ami and Rav Asi, would come to my house, and wouldn't I light the fireplace for them? So every week we have a glorious queen come visit us. Who's that? Shabbat Malka. So it's a whole different experience, by the way, when we dress the right way for Shabbat and do these preparations. By the it makes it so much more meaningful and enjoyable, and that's the ultimate goal that we need to do.